Okay, welcome to English 252. If you can hear my voice, you are officially enrolled in my English 252 Introductory Composition for the fall 2024 standard enrollment, as you can see here. Um, I'm teaching two English 252s. By the way, my name is Jeremy Jackson. I'm the professor for this class for the entirety of this semester for English 252. I'll be your professor. Um, there's two classes for 252 I'm teaching this semester among the other classes that I'm teaching. This one is for the section entitled WBBA, but you might be in WBBB, and that's fine. This every lecture you're to get this semester, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, for typically a 40 to 50-minute lecture, will be for both sections, WBBA and WBBB. If that doesn't make sense, you can always contact me and I can clarify. But just know that around 1 or 2 o'clock p.m. Alberta time, Mountain Time, you will receive a link to YouTube, just like you did today, allowing you to listen to the lecture, whatever it is we're covering that day. I'm going to get into that in a moment, what that actually is, and how this semester will sort of unfold. And that's really what I want to go over today, sort of the landscape and expectations for everyone this semester for this class. As I said, I'm Professor Jeremy Jackson. I'm not in Alberta right now. I'm in Toronto, where I live with my family. So this number that says office number is not uh, good. It's not a good number to reach me at. Um, and that room number, I'm not at the campus, so that room number is no good. S130. I don't know who they have in there this semester. But this is great email to reach me at jjackson@medicinecollege.ab.ca. Feel free, and I'll cover this in a moment when I look at office hours, but feel free to reach out to me at any point through email, and I'll get back to you within reason. I mean, obviously, if it's 2 or 3 in the morning, it's going to be tough to respond within an hour. But I'll typically respond within an hour to field any questions you might have or areas of clarification. Here we go. Office hours: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. So it's pretty universal, pretty standard, boilerplate sort of stuff. You can email me outside the framework of office hours. But what office hours? This is how it will be conducted. I'm not going to have any online entity. I'm not going to have any virtual place where I'm just going to sit and wait for you to come in to a Zoom meeting or Google Meets or whatever. It's not going to happen. But you can email me at any point, and I'll get right back to you with any inquiry you might have or question or area of clarification. So we can rely upon that. And if you need to during the semester at any point, I can forward you my email my telephone number, and we can talk on the phone if you have any questions or areas of concern. So just looking at the basic calendar description for English 252 Introductory Composition, it reads as so. This course develops student skills in the types of writing, reading, and thinking required in university today. Students will review basics, analyze contemporary examples, develop research and referencing skills, and design their writing for specific audiences. Introductory Composition, this class, provides an opportunity to develop new talents and gain confidence in expressing ideas. So that's everything that this class is about. We're going to cover a number of essays that we're going to write. Is the main sort of driving force of this class. We're going to do rough drafts. We're going to get into that into a moment, what that actually looks like for 4 essays. And we're going to turn in 4 final, polished essays, for which will ultimately culminate in your grade for this class at the end of the semester. In addition to the 4 essays that we're going to turn in, and we're going to get into detailed understanding of what this is in a moment. In addition to that, however, you're also going to submit chapter summaries for the book, textbook that we have for this class. Is mandatory reading. So just reading some of these caveats. Program delivery may be subject to change due to health or other factors beyond the college's control, and we saw that a few semesters ago. Well, now it's beginning to be a few years ago with COVID-19, the pandemic, where we had to switch everything online, kind of in the format that we're doing now, right? Uh, but we had to be really lenient and sort of limber in how we delivered those lectures back then. And we try to maintain some level of flexibility now as well. So the learning resources, purchase learning resources here. So if you click on this link, it takes you, it's kind of complicated, but it takes you eventually to the bookstore to buy this book right here by Morin and Henderson. It's The Empowered Writer, 4th edition. That's available at the brick and mortar campus bookstore at Medicine Hat College in Medicine Hat City. You can go there. You can buy it online for a cheaper price. You can go and buy the online version of it. I think it's $40 for the online version, which is cheaper. I think we have like 7 or 8 chapter summaries that we're going to do. So it might behoove you to buy the online version. It might be a situation where you buy a physical book, the fourth edition of the Empowered Writer, at Messina College, at the bookstore, or through Amazon.com or .ca, whichever you prefer, and you share it, with your fellow peers in this class. That's fine as well, right? Um, so yeah, bear in mind this is the fourth edition, not the third. For years, I've been here 7 years at Messina College. For years, the majority of the years I've been here, I've used the third edition of the Empowered Writer. That's not correct. These chapter summaries will not line up to the third edition. You must use the Empowered Writer fourth edition, which will be available at the campus bookstore or online. You can do the digital version, which I said is like half the price. I think it's $80 for the physical version and $40 for the digital version. Okay, so what is this course? What is expected of you, and what are the outcomes? So the course objectives and the learning outcomes for English 252 introductory composition are as follows. So to be successful in the class, you have to know a number of things. One, think critically when analyzing various literary works. And when we talk about the idea of thinking critically or analyzing something or critical analysis, it means we're just going to look at a text, we're going to read it, and try to figure out how it works. How it is working on informing the reader on the subject matter that it chooses, right? So we can copy that and borrow that, and so we can, when we thrust forward into the landscape of writing our own essays, we can figure out how did these professionals, or even these students, we look at a lot of student essays from prior classes that I've taught, where I thought the students did a really good job, got an A paper in this, and I'm going to break down how they received an A and why. So that's going to be an important idea of critically analyzing what are the various skills that we can employ from the various examples that we look at within our own essay. So number two, distinguish between a text main points and the supporting details. So every text we're going to engage in, whether it's video or an actual text of an essay that we're going to read this semester, and there will be many essays that we're going to read this semester by prior professionals as well as prior students, we're going to try to figure out the text main point, the essay's main point, and how they're able to give supporting detail to help underscore that main point. Something we're going to do in all our essays. And we'll go over in more detail what those essays are going to look like in a moment. Number three, summarize another author's work. As I said, we're going to look at authors' essays, both student and professional essays, and figure out how we can summarize that. And that really pertains, number three, to the chapter summaries that we're going to do for the Empowered Writer during the semester. So number four, use correct grammatical form. So punctuation, spelling, using the proper tense verbs, the verbs marrying up properly to the subject of the noun of the sentence is going to be easy for some people, but it's going to be a work in progress for others. And that's typically what happens. That, by the end of the semester, you finally get it. You've worked hard. Your essays are progressively getting better and better, more cogent. The grammatical form is getting more consistent. And hopefully that will become something that you build upon as the semester progresses and unfolds. And I'll try to tell you along the way, hey, this student that we're looking at from 5 semesters ago wrote this essay. It's really good. But you can see he or she, when they wrote the essay, they really didn't pay attention to the grammatical errors, and they didn't fix them. That's why they went from an A to a B, or from an A plus to an A or A minus. So it is important, because if we have too many grammatical errors, it can get in the way of the actual content of the essay, what the essay is attempting to communicate to the reader. So we need to watch out for that. And I'll try to point that out along the way. Number 5, write unified, coherent, and complete sentences, paragraphs, and essays. And again, going back to number 4, grammatical form. Using correct grammatical form. This might be problematic as you ease into writing these essays, and hopefully it'll get better. And as the semester unfolds and progresses, you're going to write more unified, more complete sentences and paragraphs within the class. And I'll point mistakes out that you're making and also prior students have made when we look at their essays. And that's important. I've had a number of students reach out to me and say, hey, what really helped me this semester was looking at all the examples of prior students that you had in their essays and how they wrote well at an academic rigor or level, and how they didn't write very well, and why that's something we should avoid in our own essay writing, and how they didn't write well, right? And we should avoid those pitfalls of writing. Number 6, argue logically and ethically, showing sensitivity to audience in both written and oral presentation formats. There is no oral presented format of this class. There's no oral component. You're not going to ever, obviously we're not going to stand up in front of each other and read anything because we're not in front of each other, right? We're online completely. So that's not something that's going to arise this semester. But argumentation will be something that arises. Arguing logically and ethically, showing sensitivity to audience. So I'll steer you towards some topics for your essays, but it's mainly driven by you. What are your interests? What are your natural predilections? What do you gravitate towards in terms of subject matter that you want to write about, that you want to argue on behalf of? Are you able to present that argumentation logically, where it makes sense? Right? We're going to go through a plethora of essays that will help us understand what that actually means, arguing logically and ethically. 7, use research sources effectively to support a well-constructed argument, including the following abilities. So we're going to look at many different places that we're going to receive information. As you know, in the digital age of ubiquitous level of information that exists out there, it's hard sometimes to discern what is real and what is fake, what is misinformation, what is someone attempting to lie or obfuscate the truth online. So we have to be able to discern what is real and what isn't. What's a bona fide website with bona fide links, with bona fide information that's offering versus what is something that we should not incorporate into our essays. It has no grounding in truth. So we're going to look at what is truth and how to seek out truth and find truth online. And it can be, as you can imagine, it can be problematic. So we'll try to give you some skills in terms of interpreting research sources. But here's some good ideas of where to start. So we're going to locate appropriate sources using the library catalog, article databases, and the internet. You will have a whole lecture, if not two, dedicated to the idea of me going through a whole database online. Medicine College subscribes to a number of databases, which are very handy. I'll show you how to go onto the Medicine College's website and go to the library link for Medicine College and actually drill down on a subject matter. And we try to find articles that help us underscore our thesis statement. And that idea of a thesis statement might be new to some people, or it might be we're rehashing the past. But a thesis statement is just what the essay is going to talk about and communicate to the reader, argue on behalf of, once we get to the argumentative essay, and that's later on in the semester. But once we develop a concept or idea of what we want to write about within our essays, we have to go find other people, experts that are writing about it. And typically, we find article databases, journals, journal articles, newspaper articles, magazine articles, websites that are bona fide. Again, that comes down to us verifying if these websites are good or not, right? Is it imparting good information or not? The second bullet point here is evaluate sources for suitability and credibility. We just covered that. All right, you're going to go on websites. I've had this in the past where the person incorporates a direct quote within their essay in order to underscore their thesis statement. And the website, I go to the website, and it's some guy, working out of his mom's basement. He's in his mid-50s, and he's just blogging about some subject matter that he has no credibility about. He has no credentials that support him either doing research on the subject matter. It's mainly he or she writing about its opinionated piece, right? Where it's pure opinion, and they're not really researching to the greatest academic rigor and level. So we're going to figure out what is good and what is bad in terms of academic rigor and if it's bona fide information. This third bullet point, integrate sources smoothly and logically into text. We just don't plop a direct quote onto the page. We give it attribution. We give it context and background information. So if I use a direct quote that I pull out of a journal article or a magazine article or a newspaper article, I say, hey, this is really good information. I want to put it into my essay. I give it direct quotes on it, the double quote on it to show that it's a quote. But I would give it attribution. I would say, according to Mike Johnson, who's a leading expert in the science of global warming or climate change, he says, quote, climate change is a real and happening thing that is going to affect the United States and North America for the next 20 or 30 years, unquote. Right? So I give it attribution. I said who made that quote and how are they an expert of that quote. Right? I said they were a leading expert in that field. Right? That's how you integrate sources smoothly and logically into your essays. The language we're using here is text, but essays. Just think about essay writing. The last bullet point under number 7 is document sources correctly using a recognized citation style. So the citation style, the only citation style we're going to use for this class, this is highly important for you to listen right now if you don't listen to anything else during this first lecture on the course outline and how this class is going to operate. You must use MLA formatting style for your essays. I'm going to go over that a whole lecture next class. It's a boring lecture, but it's highly crucial and important to listen to. But what MLA is, it's Modern Language Association formatting style. It dictates exactly what an English essay has to look like at a university or college level, at a post-secondary level, right? And that's exactly what I'm going to grade your essays. One of the components and elements I'm going to use to grade your essays is how well are you adhering to MLA, Modern Language Association formatting style for your essay. And again, we're going to go over that lecture next class. It's about the 50-minute long PowerPoint. Um, just like today, I'll email you the link, the YouTube link. You listen to it, take some notes. You could always email me and say, hey, how do I fix this in terms of so my essay looks like it's complying to the Modern Language Association formatting style? And I'll email you back and say, hey, you're doing this right and you're doing this wrong. And you can incorporate that to fix your essay to get a better grade. Let's see. Also, I'll just say right now, at Medicine Hat College, right across from Crave, that restaurant on campus, is the Writing Resource Center. And they're typically busy come the middle of the semester, but at the beginning and maybe at the end of the semester, they're not as busy. You can go online, you can book an appointment. I think I mentioned this in our next lecture on MLA formatting style. Maybe I'll take you through that so you can see how to, maybe I'll do it on Friday, so you can see how to sign up for the Writing Center. And they will actually take a look at your essay and correct it for MLA. How well it adheres to MLA formatting style. Okay, so here we go. Detailed course content, topics, and sequencing. So English 252, this introductory composition class, is a university level composition course designed to focus on academic essay writing and critical thinking. Some ideas and concepts we just went over prior. In order to enhance their current skills, students, you guys, will study examples of effective writing and compose various written and oral assignments on their own. Of course, as we noted before, we're just doing written assignments, right? We're not doing an oral assignment of any sort in this class. Wherever possible, English 252 is designed to recognize students' personal interests, objectives, and learning styles. To that end, this course will provide flexible and differing styles of writing and varying modes of delivery. Well, this mode of delivery is top-down, meaning I'm going to be lecturing to you. For the most part, there is a component of the class, what's called a workshop, where we will peer review fellow students' rough drafts. And just understand that. Underscore that idea, rough drafts, right? You're going to submit a rough draft for every essay, for all 4 essays that we write this semester. You're going to submit a rough draft that we're going to look at together as peers and say, hey, you know, student number 6, you're doing really well so far on this essay, but it looks like you didn't provide attribution for this quote that you use, this direct quote or this paraphrase, or you didn't have an in-text citation that marries up to an entry on your works cited page. That will make more sense, that jargon that I just used for MLA in a moment, or definitely by the end of next class. So in that way, we're going to peer review the rough drafts for the rough drafts this semester by your fellow peers. And we'll get into the nuts and bolts of that in a moment. So the following schedule I'm going to read out to you. It's a very detailed schedule, as you can see here, of every day this semester, of what we're going to do, hopefully. But it may need to adjust. We may need to adjust the sequencing of this detailed schedule according to the pace of our online discussions. And when I say discussions, it really just means our online workshops and the lectures that I send you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, if there's not a holiday. So today is, as you know, September 4th, Wednesday. This is the introduction to course and class expectations, of which we just covered of some of them. Next class we're going to meet is Friday. I thought today was Monday. So next class is Friday. Okay. So we're going to review the rubric. The rubric dictates what an essay, an A plus essay looks like versus an A essay versus a B plus essay versus a B essay, so on and so forth, and etc. I think that's going to be important at some point. But like, you gave me an A minus, but it's only 1 point removed from an A plus, or from an A rather, from an A. How can I fix that? And I'll point you towards the rubric, right, and say, hey, you can see here the rubric really breaks it down nicely that you didn't incorporate MLA at all. You didn't put page numbers. You didn't put your last name on every page at the top of every page. These are things we're going to go over comprehensively during the semester. So this should not be, once you start turning things in for a grade, for a mark, you should be well versed in MLA formatting style, hopefully. And if you're not, email me for any inquiries you might have in accordance with that. So September 9th on Monday, we're going to review MLA formatting style. So I said it was Friday. It's going to be Monday that we look at that PowerPoint on MLA formatting style in the form of a YouTube video that I'm going to send you a link. September 11th, review elements of personal essay with example. So you can see we're starting on the very first essay here. Review elements of personal essay with example. Your first essay for this class will be a personal essay. I'm going to send you a whole lecture on that on September 11th. It's about 30, 40, 50 minutes long. And then we're going to look at an example of a student that wrote an A-plus paper like 3 or 4 years ago for this class. And I think it's a really good exemplar or example of an A paper that you can look at and try to incorporate some of the elements that that student incorporated into the essay to make their personal essay compelling and interesting. We don't really need to get into an incredible amount of details for the personal essay as of now, but we will on September 11th for that lecture, that day's lecture. September 13th, review common errors in punctuation and style. Over the years, I've noticed a lot of common parallels and overlap of how people use punctuation, how they use a period, how they use a comma, a semicolon, a colon, ellipses, the quotation marks, the single quotation marks versus the double, the dash marks, the M dash, the N dash, right? The punctuation we might not ever think about. I'm going to go through a PowerPoint on that. Hopefully that'll provide some level of clarification on punctuation style. September 16th, Monday, review black men in public space. Comments due via Blackboard discussion. So I'm going to set up a discussion online if you've never done one on Blackboard. You have to become familiarized with Blackboard. We're going to use that a lot during the semester. And typically when I write an email to you and say, hey, look for this lecture in Blackboard, I'm just going to put uppercase B and lowercase b as an abbreviation for Blackboard. So just know that it means Blackboard when I send it to you in an email. We're going to look at a professional personal essay by a man named Brent Staples called Black Men in Public Space, where he's talking about, it's a beautiful essay, it's amazing. It's a really good example of personal essay. But he's talking about in the essay of him being a black man and being stereotyped in the United States in the 1980s. And I think it really is an urgent essay. We can thrust it forward, to 2024 right now, and I think it still applies a lot, especially in America, to a lot of minorities, especially in the African American community and how they're stereotyped. And then you have till, this is on Monday, you have till Wednesday by midnight to go on Blackboard and partake in the discussion. Again, I'll email you all of the details to how to do that, how to go on Blackboard, how to go to the discussion, and how to participate in it on Monday, September 16th, so don't worry about that right now. On the 18th, we're going to look at another personal essay, example, a professional essay called I Want a Wife. It's a feminist, it's first or second wave, what's called second wave or third wave feminism essay. So women in the late 1800s, early 1900s in Western society decided, hey, we don't have the same rights as men. And they got together, they organized, and they came up with plans on how they can vote. So women's suffrage, that just means the right to vote, and how they could be heard as an equal citizen to men. And in the 1960s, a woman came out and said, I want to write an essay about how I want a wife. She's personally writing about how it would be so beneficial and advantageous for her to have a wife because they do so much in the household, right? Who wouldn't want a wife? She ends her essay, right? It's a very compelling personal essay of how women are not on equal footing, at least in the 60s and 70s in Western society, especially North America at the time, and how she wants to create equality among the genders. September 20th, Friday, personal essay rough draft. So you can see already, we're jumping in. Today's the 4th. 16 days later, on September 20th, on Friday, your personal essay rough draft will have to be uploaded to Blackboard. I'll send instructions on that day of when that you have to upload your essay rough draft for your personal essay by the end of the day, by midnight. Typically, things are due by midnight when they are due. I'll email you and say, hey, your personal essay rough draft is due by midnight tonight. Continue to work on that. And then I'll give you the dates of when you need to go back in there and comment on the 3. You're going to receive 3 randomly anonymous student, your peers, personal essay rough drafts, right? You have to go back in the Blackboard. I'll give you detailed instructions on how to go back in the Blackboard and then give commentary. Read their essay rough drafts of the 3 students that you're assigned. You won't be given their names, but you'll be given essay 1, essay 2, and essay 3. And you read them and you give comments. It doesn't have to be any more than 1 or 2 lines of commentary. Constructive, substantive commentary. Don't read the essay and say, oh, that your personal essay was really good, right? We don't want to give what's called platitudes, generalizations. We don't want to give that. We want to give detailed, substantive feedback so they can go back and hopefully incorporate those pointers that you gave them for revision for their final, right? You can see that continues on September 23rd. On Monday, personal essay rough drafts workshop continues. Right, your student comments, you're having until, looks like the 25th, to complete your commentary on those 3 assigned essays to you, those rough drafts. 27th, Friday, so we're going to review what's called spoken word poetry. Some of you might be familiar with that, but it's a great spoken word poem called Knock Knock. It's an African American poet. He's amazing. Um, he composes spoken word poetry, he performs it. You could tell it's like in the 19 or early 2000s. The video, the YouTube video is kind of grainy. Um, it's not HD, but it's really good. And it's a personal essay, really. He's writing in poetic form about visiting his father, who is incarcerated. So he's in prison, and sort of what he learned of visiting his father every weekend, and the details that he incorporated within his essay that really help us understand and visually see the imagery of him going to travel to see his father and what he learned from that. Part of your personal essay that we'll cover when we get the um, on September 11th, when we review elements of personal essay and when we look at that example, we're going to figure out how can we incorporate elements of fiction, so imagery, metaphor, simile, into our essays in order to make them more compelling and evocative. After we review Knock Knock, we're going to review elements of expository essay. So you can see now we moved on to the second essay this semester, the expository essay, which you could think of it as expository. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. You can think of expository just as informative. Sometimes it's actually called that, the informative essay, right? You're picking a subject matter, again, completely up to you what subject matter you pick. I'll give you some examples of subject matters you can choose for expository or informative essay. But mainly it's going to be you choosing it. You can choose anything. I would just say pick an example, or sorry, pick an essay topic uh, that's current, right? That's important, that's urgent right now. And we'll go over some of those ideas later and when we look at examples. So the expository essay wants to inform the reader on a subject matter. We're going to look at a great example after we look at the elements of expository. And your chapter 6 summary is due via Blackboard by midnight. And that day, on the 27th, I'll email you the link to the expository essay YouTube video, and I'll email you detailed instructions on how to post your chapter 6 summary to Blackboard by midnight of that day on the 27th. September 30th, moving on, no class, the day of truth and reconciliation. That'll be great reprieve for a lot of people to have that day off. October 2nd, so we're all in October. Sorry. So that'd be Wednesday. Review expository essay example. So we're sticking with expository. Now, this is very important here, and I'll email you that day on October 2nd and say, hey, here's your link for the example of expository essay for YouTube, but also here are the detailed instructions for posting your final personal essay to Blackboard, due by midnight that night. Let's see. And that'll be it for the personal essay. We're done with it. It's polished. It's uploaded to Blackboard. Now it's up to me to go look at it and grade it and post your grade to Blackboard Grade Center. Let's see. October 4th, Friday, we're continuing with the expository essay example. We're going to look at another example of that. That'll be great. October 7th, we're moving on to, we would have touched upon this earlier in the semester, but we're going to do a deep drill or deep dive on database research methods. I'm going to go over the databases online. I'll pick a random subject matter, and I'll go onto the Medicine College's library link online, and I'll just do some preliminary research and figure out how I could put together a quick introductory paragraph in my essay with a thesis statement. That the first paragraph that distills down to a thesis statement, right, of what my essay is going to be about, what I'm going to inform the reader on. And then I'll do some research and show you how, not necessarily easy, but how efficient the databases can work in terms of incorporating direct quotes, paraphrases, or summaries. All those three things, direct quotes, paraphrases, and summaries, I'll give you greater detail in the upcoming lectures when we get the personal essay on what those look like. October 11th. October 9th, Wednesday, expository essay rough draft workshop. So just like the personal essay, we're going to upload our rough drafts to Blackboard for the workshop, for that peer-reviewed element. That is a part of your grade this semester, right? Where you're going to upload your personal essay rough draft to Blackboard, and I'm going to assign 3 people to you that you have to read their essay. Same thing with expository. I'm going to assign 3 students randomly to you of expository essays, rough drafts, that you have to go in and read them and give some substantive feedback on that essay. This continues on October 11th, same thing. And then October 14th, no class, Thanksgiving Day. That'll be great. No class for that day, no lecture, at least for my class. October 16th, Wednesday, we're going to continue on the workshop for the expository essay on Blackboard. And I'll email you that day again, just like I did for Chapter 6. I'll say, hey, by midnight tonight, your Chapter 9 summary of The Empowered Writer is due via Blackboard. And I'll say, hey, this is where you go to upload it. Okay, so October 18th, we're kind of dipping our toes into the waters of argumentative essay, our third essay. Remember I said there's 4 essays, right? Our third essay is argumentative. We have to go over elements that of argumentation. Along with elements of argumentation, many times, especially within the political sphere, within politics, politicians incorporate what are called logical fallacies, things that are to be avoided within our own argumentation. We're going to go over it's a whole hour lecture on what we need to avoid within our own argumentative essay writing, and that is those are rather logical fallacies. Fallacies is a bad thing. We don't want to incorporate those. We're going to go over that within our essay, within our lecture that day on the 18th. October 21st, we're getting close to the end of the semester, sort of. Review elements of argumentation. So argumentative essay with example. Just like the other essays, the personal and the expository, or go over the elements, what a good argumentative essay needs to incorporate within it. And then I'll give you an example of a student essay from the past. And we're going to look at that and say, hey, this is good because it does X, Y, and Z. Or it was lowered to an A or a B because of X, Y, and Z. Because of the mistakes they made with punctuation. They didn't give in-text citation. They didn't provide a works cited page. They didn't use MLA formatting style, right? At least to the degree that I thought they should have. That'll be very important, all these examples that we give, so that we can understand what is good writing and what is deplorable. October 23rd, review elements of argumentative essays again with another example. Good, right? So we get 2 classes for that. In the meantime, we're trying to craft our own argumentative essay, right? Hopefully. October 25th, we're going to learn what ethos, pathos, and logos is, and we're going to look at a really interesting resignation speech by Andrew Cuomo. If you don't know who Andrew Cuomo is or was, he was a couple years ago, he resigned. He was the governor of New York State, not city, but state. And he was caught up, embroiled in some sexually related charges by 6 or 7 women on his team, like state troopers, police officers, staff that came forward, women, and said, hey, Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, has touched us or said something to us in an inappropriate, sexually driven way. And he resigned. And he gave a really good example of both logical fallacies that he should have avoided in his argumentation, and he gave really good examples of incorporating these 3 things. And these 3 things are are this. So the ancient Greeks came forward, I don't know, gosh, around 400 BC, so about 2,400 years ago, and said, hey, argumentation needs to be built on 3 pillars. And that's what are listed here: ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is, think about borrowing from an outside authority, right? When we write our essays of argumentation, we're not just going to simply use our own knowledge that's in our own heads to write about our expertise on a given subject matter that you choose for your argumentative essay. We're going to borrow from outside authorities, and we're going to quote them, we're going to paraphrase them, and we're going to summarize them within our essay in order to give us authority within our own essays. The ancient Greeks came up with this idea of pathos, and that's the idea of incorporating emotion within our essays, which can be done, right? We're going to see how Andrew Cuomo used emotion and used his authority to incorporate in his own argumentation during his resignation speech as governor of New York State. So in our own essay writing, we shouldn't incorporate too much pathos, too much emotion, right? Then we're really just using emotion to wield our argumentation at the reader. And that doesn't always work out well. It might work a little bit during the essay, but it starts to fade and people start to lose their interest if there's too much emotion involved. There needs to be some authority, and there needs to be some of the third thing here, which is logos. And that's just incorporating logic, right? When you argument on behalf of something, when Andrew Cuomo argues on behalf that he was a good governor, that he doesn't really deserve to be fired as the governor of New York State, he's going to say, he's going to logically reach out to us, and it's going to make sense to our ear. It's going to pass our eye test and our ear test. And say, that makes sense, right? He was a good governor. He really helped us through the pandemic, and he's going to give us some numbers that help us underscore his authority, his ethos. He's going to talk about his daughters, which really underscores some pathos, some emotion, right, of his family members, and why he doesn't deserve to be fired. So he's really it's really a masterclass of him incorporating these 3 ancient pillars of argumentation: ethos, pathos, and logos: authority, emotion, and logic. And I'll go over that again during that lecture on the 25th of October. October 28th, Monday, Argumentative Essay Rough Draft Workshop. So you're going to upload on the Blackboard your rough drafts for Argumentative Essay. I'll send you an email that morning and give you details of how to upload that to Blackboard. And then you're going to, when it hits midnight, you're going to be assigned the next day 3 randomly assigned essays. And I'll give you the date that those are due, that you have to go online and give 2 or 3 sentences of feedback for that peer review workshop. And of course, right here, your final expository essay is due via Blackboard. I'll email you on October 28th and say, hey, besides uploading your argumentative essay rough draft to Blackboard, your final expository essay is due by midnight to Blackboard. And this is how you do it. I'll give the directions for uploading to Blackboard. So there's no confusion, but really by October 28th, because we would have already done the personal essay and uploaded that to Blackboard for a mark, and we would have uploaded already the expository essay to Blackboard for a mark, we should know how to upload the argumentative essay, or sorry, the final expository essay, and the rough draft for argumentative essay to Blackboard. We're continuing that argumentative workshop on the 30th of October, and we're continuing it on November 1st. And you can see here, on November 1st, we're also uploading Chapter 10 out of the Empowered Writer to Blackboard. I'll send you detailed instructions for uploading that to Blackboard that day. You have till midnight to upload Chapter 10. Again, just reiterating, when anything's due, it's always by midnight that day. November 4th, Monday, review elements of research. We're on to the final phase, right? We were seemingly on a sprint. That sprint turned into a 5-kilometer run, and that 5-kilometer run turned into a 10K, and then eventually a marathon. And that's what this semester was, a marathon. Now we're on the final phase, the final furlong, right? We're rounding third and heading for home, and we're heading on to the final phase, and that is we're going to review the elements of research essay with example. So we're going to go look at the elements, just like we did argumentation elements, just like we did expository elements, just like we did personal essay elements, right? And then we're look at a pretty good example from a prior student of a research essay. And we're going to say, hey, this is why it's working, and this is why it's not working, and this is why they got an A versus A plus, or a B plus versus a B. And that goes back to the rubric, right? 2. November 6th, same thing. We're going to look at another example of research essay by a prior student. The 8th of November, we're going to look at research that matters, review relevant topics in research. I'm going to present a plethora, a cornucopia of topics that you can choose that I think are important. You don't have to. You can choose your own topic, right, for your research essay. For any essay you write this semester, you can absolutely 100% choose your own topic to write about, right? You can email me and say, I got a topic, but I'm not 100% sure about it. Can you help me formulate some ideas to write about the subject? Of course I'll do that. Just email me your topic and I'll give you some ideas. I've heard every topic in the 15 years I've been teaching at the university and college level. I've heard every topic that exists for these subject matters. And if I haven't, that's okay as well, right? We'll explore it together. But I'm going to go over relevant research topics that I think are important. November 11th through the 14th, no class. It's study break, right? Sometimes it's called reading break. Listed here as study break. That's going to be important. Everybody's going to be stressed out. We're going to go over mental health in a moment, some of the channels that are available for you online and on Medicine College's campus that you can go to in order to reach out to if you're having problems getting assignments in, or 2 or 3 classes are converging in terms of due dates and you need some flexibility. We'll talk about that in a moment. But this will really help. November 11th through the 14th, I have no class, so you can catch up with your work and just have a mental and psychological reprieve, right? Reset button. The 15th, review elements of research essay with example again, so we get that 3 times, which will help us when we finally turn in our final draft for a research essay. 18th of November, final argument essay due via Blackboard. I'll email you that morning saying, hey guys, you have till midnight tonight to upload your final essay for argumentative essay, so you can get a mark on it that I upload to Blackboard. Maybe 3 or 4 days later, the final grade for it. And then I want you to upload your research thesis statement, what you think your essay is going to be about for your final research essay. Right? You're going to upload the Blackboard. I'm going to send you instructions for that, and I'm going to look at them and say, hey, you're going in the right direction, or maybe you want to think about researching this avenue of that subject matter that you chose. And then you're going to get instructions too on that day to upload your chapter summary to Blackboard by midnight. There is no exam for this class, which is great and wonderful, and everybody likes that, but there is a test. We're going to review it. It's going to be on MLA test, MLA formatting style. Prior to the 22nd of November, on the 20th, we'll review. I'm going to send you a PowerPoint to review formatting style. So that's nothing new. I'm not going to throw any curveballs. We would have went over this ad nauseum, ad infinitum over the entirety of this semester, what MLA formatting style looks like. You would have been graded on that rigor during your the 3 prior essays, your personal, your expository, and your argumentative. So I would have pointed out of how you are incorporating or are not incorporating correctly the MLA formatting style. And then that day by midnight, you'll have chapter summary due from the Empowered Writer due by midnight via Blackboard. And just a note, the chapter summaries are just that. Read the chapter and just highlight the main ideas. And it's typically just a paragraph long, like 4 or 5 sentences. I've even allowed people just to bulletize the main points of the chapters when you turn them in for the chapter summaries. All right, you could do something just as simple as that. Just list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is what ideas of what the chapter was about, chapter 12 summary, or any of the prior chapters. The test, you have till midnight on November 22nd. You won't have a lecture that day. I won't email you a YouTube lecture. You're just going to have the test. You have it till midnight. I think it's 25 multiple choice questions. The 25th, review appropriate research style and concepts and revision. I have another book I look at, textbook, not The Empowered Writer, but we're going to look at that chapter 10. It imparts some wisdom, some sage wisdom in terms of writing and research. Chapter 15 summary will be due by midnight. I'll send you instructions for that on that day. November 27th, your research essay rough draft will be due via Blackboard, right? So you're uploaded just like you did your prior essay rough drafts to Blackboard. It'll close out by midnight, and then after midnight, you'll be assigned randomly 3 research essay rough drafts by your fellow students, so that peer review element of the class. And we're going to do that for the December 2nd as well, and for the December 4th, and December 6th as well. That's when you have to be done with your commentary on the 3 essays that you're sent. And of course, December 9th, which will be a giant exhale for a lot of people, the last day of class, including me, and exhaling. The semester's over, or close to being over. Now I have to do the heavy lifting of grading. Last day of class, final research essay due via Blackboard. I'll email you that day with instructions for uploading your final research essay mark. Due no later than the 13th. So look at that. I'll send you instructions on the 9th that it's due, but it's due by the 13th. So you have a few more days after the 9th to get it in. And of course, by midnight on the 9th, you have to upload your final chapter summary, and that's chapter 16 to Blackboard. Okay, so that's the how the semester is going to unfold in terms of detailed class-by-class lecture and what's expected of you and what's due. It might seem confusing, and that's fine at this point. You can always email me for clarification. But I think once we get maybe past the personal essay, when it's the final one is due, I think the framework, how the class operates, will be, I think, more apparent. Okay, instructional technique. So this class is online course, but will function partly, as I said before, as an online workshop. That is to say, we will craft our essay drafts and other writing assignments in order to peer review them by uploading them to Blackboard, right? Whoops. Online activities will include short lectures by me, demonstrations, explanations, as well as a variety of online worksheets for hands-on practice and experience. I don't know why this language is even in here. We don't have online worksheets, right, for this class. In addition, students in this class will be enrolled onto the Blackboard. Like I said before, it's very important that we use Blackboard. And check your email every day for updates from me, especially checking on the Monday, Wednesday, Friday that we're going to have lectures emailed to us, and when assignments are going to be, when I'm going to email you saying assignments are due, whether that's a chapter summary or a rough draft or a final draft of your essay, of the 3 essays. Here's the breakdown of the percentage. They have different weight. W-E-I-G-H-T in terms of weight, how they're graded. So the personal essay is 15% of your grade and needs to be 3 to 5 pages double spaced. These are final drafts here, by the way, this grade assessment. Your personal essay needs to be 3 to 5 pages long. Your expository essay has to be 3 to 5 pages long, double spaced. Your argumentative essay needs to be 3 to 5 pages long, double spaced, right? So, and they're all 15% of your grade each. They all have to adhere to MLA formatting style. Once we get to expository and argumentative, it has to contain a works cited page, a minimum of 3 sources. So I'll go over this when I go over elements of expository and elements of argumentation and elements of research, but you'll be well versed by the time we get to argumentative and research essay. But that's just you doing some research and finding some sources to incorporate as a paraphrase, as a summary, or as a direct quote within your essay in order to give it authority, in order to underscore your thesis statement. You must have a works cited page. You can't have a resource page or a reference page. It has to be works cited in order to adhere to the MLA formatting style. Of course, we spoke about the research essay is 20% of your grade, so it goes up because it's more. It's 5 to 7 pages double spaced, right? It adheres to all MLA formatting style and contains a works cited page with a minimum of 5 sources. Notice these are 3 sources for argumentative and 3 sources for expository. Well, the research essay is now 5 sources, right? Which is why it's 20% of your grade. It's your final assignment, right? Of course, throughout the semester, you're going to be participating in the online workshop, right? That's the part of the semester that you upload your rough draft to Blackboard and someone else comes in and makes comments on your essay. Your chapter summaries are 10%. We already went over those. There's like 6 of them. And then finally, your MLA test at the end of the semester is 10% of your grade. And it's odd, too. Some people opt out. I email you that day, say, hey, you got till midnight to do the MLA test. And some people just don't do it for some reason. It's easy 10%. The 25 questions, multiple choice. Typically, people do really well. These are the dates. I'm just going to let you look at these dates on your own, peruse it on your own at your convenience, the dates and things are due. of the essays. These are hopefully the dates that we're going to stick to, but they can be flexible. They might change depending on what happens this semester. There is no final exam. I touched upon that briefly before, but there is that test. Late assignments, and there are going to be people that are going to have late assignments. I'm not draconian. I'm not um, a tyrant. Um, I try to work with you as much as possible. I know life happens, and I know this is not the only class you're taking typically. A lot of classes will converge on each other. A lot of assignments will converge in terms of essays being due in other classes or exams coming up. And I try to remain flexible for this. But your late assignments are penalized 10% per day that they're late. Email me ahead of time, and so we can maybe hammer out a plan to get it in and avoid this 10% per day late infraction. Don't plagiarize, which is to say, don't copy other people's work without giving attribution. And it's possible to plagiarize yourself as well, where you use an essay, say, and I've had this before, where a student turned in an essay. It was clearly written for a biology class. It was clearly written not in MLA formatting style, but written in APA style, which is typically for a biology class or a science class. And they turned it in and said, hey, this is my English essay. And they failed. They plagiarized themselves. They tried to double dip by using an essay from a prior class in my English class. So we got to be careful of that. The best way to avoid plagiarism is to use proper attribution. Before a direct quote or paraphrase or summary, to say, hey, according to this generic example, according to Mike Johnson, who's a leading expert on computer science, he says, quote, computers are developing AI strategies that are going to make online activities harder and harder to detect plagiarism, unquote. Right? So just as an example, right? I gave the attribution of Mike Johnson, and I gave his quote. I understand as a reader of that essay that Mike Johnson said that, and it wasn't you. So just be cognizant of that. Academic dishonesty, we just spoke about that. It's a serious offense, can be punished by failure on exam, paper, or project, failure in a course and or expulsion from the course. So when you upload your final essay to Blackboard, I run it through what's called Safe Assign, and it flags for me areas that it thinks that are plagiarized, and it gives me a number, a percentage of, say it said 13%. It came back that 13% of your essay was plagiarized. That's not a lot. Sometimes essays come back and say 98% chance this essay was plagiarized. Then I have to go through the essay and pick out what the computer says and flags as plagiarized and do research to see if it really was. So if you give proper attribution and you give an in-text citation that marries up to an entry on your works cited page, it's not going to be a problem. Email me if you think you're plagiarizing. I'll tell you how to fix it so it's not plagiarized before you turn in your final draft. That is. This is the grade scheme for the class. You can look at it at your own convenience. It's pretty generous, I think. Uh, Accessibility statement. This might be applicable to some of you. If you are a student that requires additional accommodation to support your learning and have been approved through the Accessibility Services Office at room B367, it's above the library, please contact your instructor prior to exams or any other form of evaluation. So if that applies to you, fine, that's great, that's wonderful. You can email me the paperwork. The only thing that I think would apply to is our test. And again, you're going to have till midnight to do that test. So you're going to get that extra time anyway. Up to you if that applies to you or not. Mental health statement. This is important. The college recognizes the importance of student mental health and well-being, has many resources available for supporting students throughout their academic journey. So services such as counseling, important stuff, right? Support groups, important. Self-help modules dedicated to helping you manage things like anxiety, which we all have. Stress, I'm sure we all have that as the semester unfolds. Depression, it can lead to that. Stress and anxiety can lead to and culminate to depression. And relationships are accessible to students on the campus as well as online. So you can go online. It could be anonymous, either way, in face-to-face or online. You don't have to reveal who your name is. You don't even have to talk about what class you're having issues with. This information never has to distill back to me. Or it can. You can go to them and say, hey, I'm having problems with 252. I've fallen behind, excuse me, by 3 essays, and I haven't turned in anything yet. I don't want to fail this class. Is there a way you can contact Dr. Jackson and figure out how I can get my assignments in to at least get a passing grade? Yeah, they've done that. Students have done that before, and the student counseling has reached out to me and say, hey, the student really needs help. Is there any way you could work with her or him in order to get them their assignments in? And I said, yeah, we could work out a new timeline for that. But here are the resources. Just call that number or go on this website link in order to access those resources for mental health. In addition, the Student at Risk Support System, or SARS, is here to respond to concerns around mental health and physical well-being, security, and academic issues, offering an additional intervention in connecting students with appropriate resources on campus at this link. So please There's no shame. There's no social stigma on reaching out to mental health resources. It's important. We all have episodes that we need help. It's important that you realize that you're help for some other people and some other people can be help for you, all right? That we have each other. Student responsibilities. I mean, this is the end of it. Thank God we got to the end of this lecture. Your responsibilities. The water that you have to carry and the wood you have to chop this semester. Attend class lectures on a regular basis. What does that mean for us since we're online? Click on the YouTube links that I give you and try to listen to the entirety of the YouTube link. Because at the end of the YouTube link, I typically tell you when things are due. Um, and they're going to be important to inform you what assignments we're doing and how to do them, right? How to get the best grade you can get. Listen to these YouTube links that I send you. Read all assigned text prior to class. That really doesn't apply to us. Just get your chapter summaries in on time, right? By midnight, whenever they're due. Craft all class assignments using strictly, I underscore here, and italicize, and bolden, strictly MLA formatting style. APA is not permitted in this class. You cannot turn in an essay that's formatted using APA, using scientific um, formatting style. You cannot do that in this class. Be attentive and respectful to the instructor and your fellow students at all times. That's never been an issue. And finally, be observant of the diversity of ideas and subject matter expressed in English 252 this semester and any other class you're taking as well. Try to adhere to that general rule. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure introducing you to this class. I look forward to this semester unfolding and having the ability to read your concepts and ideas and influencing you on how you write and incorporate direct quotes, summaries, and paraphrasing, and the subject matter that you choose and the urgency and the language that you use, and raising your academic rigor higher and higher so that you're an exemplar of essay writing when you move on to any other iteration of English or any other class that you pursue in the rest of your life. Look out. Today's Wednesday. Look out on Friday for another link, and we're going to talk about the rubric. Please email me if you have any questions, concerns. If not, have a wonderful Wednesday. I'll talk to you on Friday. Bye, guys.